I asked one of my bridesmaids to wear natural makeup for my wedding, and now she's telling everyone she's not welcome. What was supposed to be a simple request for one day turned into accusations that I'm controlling, that I care more about photos than my friends. Some people are on my side. Others think I crossed a line I can't take back. And the worst part is, I genuinely thought I was being reasonable. Now I'm sitting here wondering, did I just ruin a friendship over something small, or did she turn it into something it was never meant to be? So, I'm 24 and I'm getting married in a few months. And when I started thinking about who I wanted standing next to me that day, Devin was one of the first people that came to mind. We've known each other since high school. We were never that talk every day, tell each other everything kind of best friends. But she's always been there. Consistently, comfortably, like someone who just naturally became part of my life over time. A lot of that, honestly, came from our relationships. My fiancé and her now husband have been best friends for years. So the four of us spent a lot of time together. Double dates, weekend trips, late-night hangouts where you lose track of time. It wasn't forced, it just kind of happened. And somewhere along the way, Devin stopped being my boyfriend's friend's girlfriend and just became part of my circle. Someone I expected to be there for big moments like this. So, I'm 24, and I'm getting married in a few months. And when I started thinking about my bridal party, Devin felt like an obvious choice. We've known each other since high school, but not in that super intense best friends who do everything together kind of way. It was more steady, familiar. We were always around each other, always friendly, but our lives didn't fully overlap until later. Things really changed when my fiancé and her now husband became close. They've been best friends for years, so naturally, we started spending more time together as couples. At first, it was just casual double dates here and there, grabbing dinner, going out on weekends, but over time, it turned into more. We took trips together, celebrated birthdays, had those long nights where you're all just talking, laughing, and losing track of time. It wasn't forced, it just kind of built naturally. And Devin became someone I was used to having in my life. Not necessarily the person I'd call first when something went wrong, but someone I genuinely enjoyed being around. Someone I trusted to be part of big moments, like this one. So when I asked her to be a bridesmaid, it wasn't just about tradition. It felt like including someone who had been part of my life for years, even if our friendship had always been more quiet and comfortable than intense or emotional. Now, Devin has always had a very distinct presence. She's not the kind of person who blends into a room. She stands out, intentionally or not. Her style is very traditional goth. Not just dark clothes, but the full look, a pale, almost porcelain-like base. Sharp, dramatic black eyeliner that frames her eyes in a way that's impossible to ignore. Deep tones, bold contrasts, everything about it feels deliberate. And the thing is, it works for her. Really well, she doesn't look like she's trying to be different. She just is. There's a confidence in the way she carries herself, like she's completely comfortable in her own skin. Like she figured out who she was a long time ago and never felt the need to adjust that for anyone else. People notice her. Sometimes in a curious way, sometimes in a judgmental way. But she never seems affected by it. If anything, she leans into it more. And I've always respected that about her. I've never had an issue with how she looks or how she expresses herself. Honestly, I've always thought she looked beautiful in her own way. Strong, unapologetic. Like someone who knows exactly who she is and isn't interested in changing that for anyone. But for my wedding, I had a very clear vision in my head. Not something over the top or extravagant, just soft, elegant, timeless. The kind of atmosphere where everything feels calm and intentional, not loud or chaotic. I spent months thinking about it, scrolling through inspiration, saving ideas, imagining how everything would come together. And what I kept coming back to was this natural, cohesive look. I wanted my bridesmaids in green dresses. Not identical ones. I wasn't trying to make them look like copies of each other. Different styles were completely fine. Different shades, too. I just wanted that shared color palette, something that tied everything together without feeling too rigid. And makeup was the same idea. Nothing heavy or dramatic. Just light, natural looks that would complement the overall vibe. Something that would still look beautiful years from now without feeling tied to a specific trend. I even booked a professional makeup artist for the day. Not because I didn't trust anyone to do their own makeup, but because I wanted everyone to feel relaxed, taken care of. Like they could just show up, enjoy the moment, and not have to worry about the details. To me, it wasn't about controlling how anyone looked. It was about creating a feeling, a moment where everything just fit together. So I put together these little bridesmaid gift baskets. Nothing huge, just something thoughtful. Each one had a few small things like candles, skincare, a handwritten note, and then tucked inside, a printed card with the dress code. I remember being a little nervous handing them out, not because I thought anyone would have an issue, but because it felt like one of those moments where things were becoming real. Like, this is actually happening. We all met up to give them out. It was relaxed, light. People were laughing, opening their boxes, commenting on how cute everything was. One of the girls immediately held up the dress color and said she already had ideas. Another joked about finally having an excuse to wear heels again. It felt easy, normal, exactly how I imagined it would be. And Devin, she smiled, said thank you. Didn't say much else about it. Nothing seemed off, no tension, no hesitation. If anything, I remember thinking, okay, that went better than I expected. And for the rest of that hangout, everything felt completely fine. We talked about the wedding, made small plans, even joked about the bachelorette party. There wasn't a single moment where I thought something was wrong, which is why, a few hours later, when my phone lit up with a message from Devin, it caught me completely off guard. A few hours later, my phone buzzed. It was Devin. I opened the message, not expecting anything serious. But then I read, Devin, so, I'm not allowed to wear my makeup to the wedding? I remember just staring at the screen for a second. That wasn't how I thought it would come across at all. So I tried to keep my response calm, clear. Me? I just want everyone to have a more natural look for the wedding. Since you're a bridesmaid, yeah, I'd like everyone to stick to that. There was a pause. A few minutes went by. Then another message came through. Devin, so I can't be myself? That's when I felt a shift. Like, this wasn't just a question anymore. So I tried to soften it. Me. It's not about that. I just want the bridal party to match the overall vibe. It's only for the ceremony and photos. Another pause. Longer this time. Then Devin. Wow. Okay. So the aesthetic matters more than how I'm comfortable showing up. At that point, I could feel the tension building. But I still thought I could explain it. Fix it. Me. That's not what I'm saying. You can still come however you want if you'd rather not follow the bridesmaid look. I just want everyone in the bridal party to be cohesive. And then, almost immediately, Devin. If I can't look like myself, I don't see the point in being there at all. And just like that, what I thought was a simple request didn't feel simple anymore. But she didn't take it that way. Not even a little. Almost immediately after I tried to explain, she replied, Devin, if I'm not allowed to be myself, then I don't need to be there at all. And that's when something shifted. Because up until that moment, I thought this was just a misunderstanding. Something we could clear up. But now, it felt heavier. Like we weren't even talking about the same thing anymore. So I tried again more carefully this time. Me. I'm not trying to change who you are. I just want the bridal party to have a consistent look for the day. It's really just about the ceremony and photos. There was a short pause. Then she came back. Stronger. Devin. You keep saying that, but that's exactly what you're doing. You're asking me to not look like myself. I could feel my frustration starting to build. But I didn't want to snap. Not yet. Me. It's just makeup for one day. I'm not asking you to change who you are as a person. That didn't land well. At all. Devin. You don't get to decide what's just makeup to me. This is how I present myself. This is who I am. And that's when it really hit me. To her, this wasn't a small adjustment. It felt personal. But at the same time, I felt like she wasn't hearing me either. Me? I understand it's important to you, I really do. But this is also important to me. It's my wedding, and I just want everything to feel cohesive. And then she said something that honestly stuck with me. Devin, so you care more about your aesthetic than your friend's comfort? That one stung. Because that's not how I saw it at all. But the way she said it made me question if that's how it looked. Still, I tried to hold my ground. Me. That's not fair, I'm not excluding you. I even said you can come as a guest and wear whatever you want. And that's when she snapped. Devin. Right. So either I change how I look, or I get downgraded. That's your solution? I didn't even know how to respond to that. Because in my mind, I was offering flexibility. But to her, it felt like rejection. And at that point, it was clear this wasn't just a disagreement anymore. It was two completely different perspectives, colliding. and neither of us was backing down. And at that point, I didn't even feel angry anymore. If anything, I just felt off, confused in a way I couldn't really explain. Because in my head, this had been such a small, reasonable request. One day, one event. A few hours, really. And it wasn't like I was telling her she couldn't come, or that she couldn't be herself in general. I wasn't asking her to change who she was as a person. Just not wear full goth makeup as a bridesmaid. That's it. But the way she reacted made it feel like I had asked for something way bigger, something personal. And I kept replaying the conversation in my head, over and over, wondering if I said something wrong, if my tone came off harsher than I meant, if maybe I should have explained it differently, because the last thing I ever wanted was for her to feel like she wasn't accepted. That was never my intention. But at the same time, I couldn't shake this feeling that I was being misunderstood, that what I meant and what she heard were two completely different things. And the more I thought about it, the more I started second-guessing myself. Like, was it really just about the wedding? Or did it come across like I cared more about how things looked than the people standing next to me? And that thought didn't sit well with me at all. And then it got worse, because somehow this didn't stay between just me and Devin. It started spreading. At first, it was subtle. A message here, a casual, "Hey, are you okay?" There. But then it became obvious. People knew. And they had opinions. One of my friends texted me, "Honestly, I don't think you did anything wrong. It's your wedding. She should respect that." That made me feel a little better. For a second. But then, not even an hour later, someone else reached out. "I heard what happened. Are you sure you're not being a little controlling?" And that word just sat there. Controlling. I didn't even know how to respond to that. Then it kept coming. Different people. Different tones. Same situation. Completely different interpretations. It's one day. She can compromise. Yeah, but it's her identity, that's not something small. Why make her a bridesmaid if you don't want her to look like herself? I mean, you did give her an option, right? It felt like I was suddenly in the middle of something way bigger than I expected. Like everyone was forming their own version of the story, and I wasn't in control of it anymore. Then I heard something that honestly stopped me cold. One of our mutual friends said, "Devin told people she's not even welcome at your wedding." And I just froze. Because that wasn't true. Not even close. I never said she couldn't come. I never uninvited her. I just gave her a choice. But somehow, that turned into me completely excluding her. And that's when it really hit me. This wasn't just a disagreement anymore. It had turned into a narrative, and I didn't recognize the version of me people were starting to believe. And that's the part that really hit me. Not the argument itself. Not even the disagreement. It was what came after. I was sitting with a friend, someone neutral, someone I trusted to be honest, and she hesitated before saying it. Like she wasn't sure if she should, and that alone made my stomach drop. Then she said, "Hey, I don't know if you know this, but Devin's been telling people she's not welcome at your wedding." And for a second, I honestly thought I misheard her. I just stared at her and said, "What?" She nodded, a little awkwardly. "Yeah, like, that you basically told her she couldn't come unless she changed who she is." And I could feel something in my chest tighten, because that wasn't what happened. Not even close. I never said she couldn't come. I never told her she wasn't welcome. I never tried to cut her out. I gave her a choice. That was it. Bridesmaid with a dress code, or come as a guest and be completely yourself. That felt fair to me. It still feels fair to me, but hearing how it was being told to other people, it made it sound like I had excluded her entirely, like I had drawn some harsh line and pushed her out. And suddenly, I wasn't just dealing with a disagreement anymore. I was dealing with a version of the story that made me look like the villain. And the worst part? I couldn't control it. I couldn't go around correcting every conversation. I couldn't explain my side to every single person who had already heard hers. All I could do was sit there, feeling frustrated, misunderstood, and honestly, a little hurt. Because I never thought something like this, something so small, at least in my mind, would turn into something that made me question how people see me at all. And that's when the doubt really started creeping in. Not just about her, but about myself. And what really keeps bothering me is this. I can't stop thinking about her wedding, because I was there. I stood next to her, as one of her bridesmaids. And she had a vision too, a very specific one. Deep red dresses, a much more dramatic makeup style than I would ever normally wear. It wasn't me. Not even close. But I didn't question it. I didn't push back. I didn't make it about my identity or how I usually present myself. I just did it because it was her day, because I cared about her, because I thought that's what you do for someone when you're standing beside them on one of the most important days of their life. And now, sitting here, seeing how everything has played out, I can't help but feel like something isn't adding up. Like we're operating on two completely different sets of expectations. And it hurts more than I expected, because it's not just about the makeup anymore. It's about feeling like I showed up for her, in a way she's not willing to show up for me. And maybe that's unfair. Maybe I shouldn't compare the two. But I can't ignore it either, because the more I think about it, the more I feel like I'm being painted as someone I don't recognize, like I'm selfish or controlling, when all I really wanted was one day where everything felt like it belonged together. And now instead, I feel isolated, misunderstood, and stuck in the middle of something that was never supposed to get this big. So now I'm sitting here, replaying everything, and I keep coming back to one thought that I can't seem to shake. Her wedding, because I was there. I was one of her bridesmaids. And she had rules too, very specific ones. She chose the dresses deep red, not something I would have picked for myself. She chose the makeup style way more dramatic than anything I'd normally wear. It wasn't my aesthetic. It didn't feel like me. But I didn't question it. I didn't push back. I didn't ask if I could just be myself instead. I showed up. I followed what she wanted, because it was her day. And I thought that was just understood. So now I keep asking myself, why does it feel so different this time? Why does it feel like what I did for her was normal? But what I'm asking for is somehow crossing a line. Is it really about the makeup? Or is it about something deeper that I'm not seeing? And the more I think about it, the more conflicted I feel. Because part of me still believes I'm being reasonable, but another part of me keeps wondering if maybe, without realizing it, I hurt her more than I ever intended to. I never thought something like this would be the thing that puts distance between us. Not after all these years. Not over something that, to me, still feels so small. But now, she's not talking to me. People are choosing sides. And somehow, this situation has taken on a life of its own. And I keep going back and forth in my head, trying to be honest with myself, trying to see it from her side, because maybe, to her, this wasn't small at all. Maybe it felt like I was asking her to give up a part of who she is. And if that's true, then I hate that I made her feel that way. But at the same time, I can't ignore how I felt either. I didn't think I was being unreasonable. I didn't think I was choosing aesthetics over people. I just wanted one day where everything felt like it belonged together. And now I'm stuck wondering if that was the moment I crossed a line without realizing it. So I honestly don't know anymore. Was I wrong for asking her to tone it down for just one day? Or did she turn this into something bigger than it ever needed to be?